What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Face Off Sports Network. I'm here with Pete Nova. I'm Anthony Servino, and today we're going to take a look at the best fantasy football draft strategy for 2024, and that is the zero running back draft strategy. We're going to put the draft board on the screen. We're going to be picking from the 10 spot using the Sleeper Fantasy Draft platform. Pete, what do you think of the zero running back draft strategy?
Yeah, so for the zero RB strategy, it's become very popular. It really depends on your league mates, and I typically like to go zero RB because this is a year that there's not a lot of workhorse running backs, so a lot of committees. So I'd rather put my top tier picks into wide receivers and tight ends, in my opinion. Than bank on some of these running backs who are pushed to the top, but they're a little shaky. So I like going zero RB.
Are you ready to start the draft?
I am. Why don't you tell? We're picking out of the 10 spot, right?
Yeah, I already said it at the top. We are picking from the pick 10 and going for the zero running back strategy. We are going to start the draft. And we McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, Brick Wall, Jamal St. Brown, Bijan, and AJ Brown. And now we are on the clock. You know, guys like Garrett Wilson, Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, Marvin, Kyron, a lot of good running backs on the board, but we're going to be targeting zero running back. Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, where do you want to go? I'm not big on Devontae Adams this year.
Neither am I. I would definitely go Garrett Wilson here. It would have been AJ Brown if he was on the board, but since he went right the pick before, I would go Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, and Garrett Wilson's one of my all-in players. You know, we've seen this guy fall victim to poor quarterback play through the years, always getting volume targeted. If we get a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I think we can have a Devontae Adams type season out of Garrett Wilson. And even if Aaron, knock on wood, if he goes down again, Tyrod Taylor is still a massive upgrade over every other quarterback that Garrett Wilson has had in his NFL career.
Yeah, and Tyrod Taylor, he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. We know that, if God forbid something happens to Rodgers, like he can still be a productive wide receiver just because of the talent alone.
Jonathan Taylor, Barkley at the turn, Puka, and now we are back on the clock. Marvin Harrison falls to us. This is a guy I've seen go sometimes at pick 12 or the first pick in the second round. I think it's a gift if you want to go Marvin Harrison. The other person I would like here at wide receiver would be Drake London.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough call. Marv obviously is a rookie, but I still really like him. Less. In a way, it's kind of less mouths to feed, on Marv's side, and I think that defense is really bad in Arizona. That I think that they're going to be down a lot and have to throw the football. And I like James Conner, but he's not Bijan Robinson, so I think I lean Marv here.
Yeah, I would go Marvin too, and I like Drake London. I'm very much in on the Falcons offense. But I'm very, very fond of the Cardinals stack with Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, and James Conner if we wanted to go three deep with the stack. So we do go Harrison. We start with Garrett Wilson and Harrison. Devontae goes next. Kyron, Etienne, London, Laporta, Olave, Henry, Kelsey, Josh Allen. So first quarterback off the board at the turn. Achane off the board. Then we get a couple of wide receivers, Ayuk, Diggs, Nico. Surprisingly, Diggs ahead of Nico in this mock. Pacheco, Mahomes, Debo, DJ Moore, Evans. We are back on the clock. So where do you want to go here, Pete? Do we want to stick with wide receiver with guys like Waddle, Pittman, Cooper Kupp, Neighbors, and after that horrific showing from Daniel Jones, I don't know if you want to go Neighbors here. Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf. We also have McBride, Mark Andrews still on the board.
So I mean, it really depends. I mean, running back wise, I mean, you have who? I can't really see it super well on my side. It looks like
Jacobs,
Jacobs.
White, Cook, Mixon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate going Jacobs here, but for what we're going for, let's stick to either wide receiver, tight end, or quarterback. I think at this point, if you go to I think you go tight end here because at wide receiver, there's a lot of question marks. I like Cooper Kupp. If I was going to take one guy here, Pittman, has been a monster from a target share standpoint, and Jalen Waddle has the upside, and we know what he can do if he can stay healthy. But there's also a lot of uncertainty with a lot of these guys, and I could see a lot of the guys 10 wide receivers down finishing just as high as the guys that are left on this list. I think elite tight end is the way to go for me. What about you? Where do you lean tight end or do you prefer going wide receiver here?
Um, no, you bring up the receiver position. I think Waddle can have a bounce back year, but the issue with Waddle, he's not going to get the Tyreek Hill type volume. So we're going to be betting on, can Jalen Waddle be efficient like he was 2 years ago? And efficiency is sometimes hard to bet on. Cooper Kupp, they're saying the offense is going to run through him, but Coop is getting older. Injuries not only with Cooper Kupp, we also have to worry about if Matthew Stafford goes down. Yeah. Stetson Bennett does not look good, and Jimmy Garoppolo, he's suspended with the PED, but even when he comes back, he looked like a disaster with the Raiders. So maybe if you want to go McBride or Mark Andrews, I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, you make the call here. I know I'm higher on McBride than you are, but if you like Andrews, I don't mind going Andrews because you can easily get Lamar probably and stack the two of them. You can get Kyler. The thing about Kyler too is we have Marv. Maybe we split it up. I don't want to triple stack. So maybe we go Andrews. And then if we like Lamar, we take him and stack that up, or we shoot for Kyler later on and get the Marv Kyler stack possibly too. So yeah, I would go Andrews here.
All right. Yeah, I'm higher on Andrews anyway.
Yeah.
He's actually my tight end too behind Travis Kelce. I know that seems contrarian, but if you go back, if you're listening, go in our archives. We do some videos on Andrews, on McBride, on Kincaid that are in the archive. So we are back on the clock, and Jackson just goes, as does Jalen Hurts. So we are back on. Too early. I want to go for the Kyler stack, especially with Lamar Jackson off the board. Wide receiver wise, Cooper Kupp, we both seem to like Kupp despite the red flags, or Pittman. That is, I would go one of those two guys because at running back, despite going to zero running back strategy, I don't love the guys at this point.
No.
Rashad, we could see Bucky Irving cutting into his workload. James Cook certainly seems like he's on a short leash with Ray Davis right behind him. Mixon solid. Kamara, I don't really trust that situation with how Dennis Allen's going to deploy that entire offense at this point. Do you want to go with one of these receivers?
Yeah, I would go Kupp, just because when Cooper Kupp is healthy, like he's got league winning upside. I like Michael Pittman. Don't get me wrong. I'm not as high on him this year as some other people. I don't think Michael Pittman has league winning upside in my opinion. I still think Cooper Kupp has that ability if he's fully healthy. And it seems like from the reports that we're hearing, he looks like his old self and he's feeling great. I know everybody says that every year. I'm in the best shape of my life, but I still think Kupp has got another great year in him if he stays healthy.
So we are back on the clock. At what point now? We are now in round 5. Quarterbacks off the board. Richardson, Hurts, Lamar. Now, I don't know if we have to force the Kyler pick just yet. I think we do have to force it in round 6. But I think we are also at the point where we do need to take our first running back. Going zero running back, taking our first in round 5, I think that's the way to go. And there are two here I really like, Aaron Jones and James Conner. They're both a little bit older, but especially with Aaron Jones, the offense could very well run through him. No J.J. McCarthy. Who knows what's going to happen with Darnold? And if Sam Darnold does not play well or go down, they're going to go through a whole laundry list of backup quarterbacks where we could see Aaron Jones, who's an excellent pass catcher. It would not surprise me if he has, a 60 plus, 70 plus reception year with that quarterback situation.
Yeah, and look, if we're going for Kyler, I don't want to have Connor and
Yeah.
Kyler plus Marv.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is my favorite guy on the list. I don't really want Swift. I like David Montgomery, but not as my RB1. So
Now, Higgins, Kittle, Connor, Godwin, we are back on the clock. Do we go Kyler here? His ADP's right around pick 80. Do we risk him going? Because this is a realistic conversation to have. Anybody listening, ADP is just a guide. Depending on who you're drafting with, somebody could take Kyler this round. There's no guarantee he comes back. And certainly for a home league, nobody's really paying attention to ADP anyway. So do we go Kyler or do we risk it and possibly take a second running back? There's some decent receivers left value-wise. Christian Kirk, Rashee Rice, is one of my guys.
yeah. Can you scroll up on the board just a little bit so we could still see the first round? I forgot who we took in round 1. It was Garrett. Okay. Yeah, look, we're good at receiver for now. I don't want to take a chance on missing on Kyler. Is there a chance that he gets back to us? Sure, but it's a long way back. So I would just go Kyler here. Let's not risk it. And let's just go ahead and take him.
So we get Kyler, we get our guy, we get our stack. And Burrow does go. So there is a chance that the computer draft, the AI could have taken Kyler there.
Yeah.
Dak goes. So again, no guarantee Kyler comes back to us. He could, he couldn't, because we did see two other quarterbacks going off the board. So I think that was a good decision to go Kyler Murray. And anybody who was listening to this, these are the type of decisions you have to make. I know this happens to me a lot. Like, I draft all off season long. Pete drafts all off season long. Early in off season, I usually wait too long, especially like best ball drafts. Oh, he'll fall. And the guy I want goes sometimes the next pick. And this time of the year, you kind of know, all right, Kyler's getting a lot of hype right now. His ADP might be behind Dak and Joe Burrow. But, guys at established run, they're talking Kyler up like he could be this year's Jalen Hurts. Like he can be this year's, round 6 pick that finishes a top 3 quarterback. And other people who listen to that show, they're taking Kyler early. So you have to be prepared to go get your guys. So we are back on the clock, Pete. Running back, I think we need to take another one. And Zamir White's on the board. I think for a 0 running back strategy, getting Zamir White in round 7's a gift, unless he, fumbles the job away. He's in line for monstrous value. The Raiders just named Gardner Minshew their quarterback. Similar to Aaron Jones, our first running back pick, this is a team that should rely on their running back position a lot.
Yeah, so a little word of advice to anybody listening to Sleeper's ADP is all over the place. I mean, you have Nick Chubb still here on the board. Your league mates, honestly, it's a blessing if you're not playing with sharp drafters, because Nick Chubb should not be the second running back left on the board, probably. I'm taking Zamir White here as well. I actually happen to love Brian Robinson, too. I wouldn't even have been upset if we got Brian Robinson there as my potential RB2. Obviously Bowers, Ridley, it looks like Vlad McConkey and Nick Chubb then go. But there's still, honestly, I'd have to take a look at the wide receivers. I think we can risk it and go wide receiver again here and pass, and maybe Brian Robinson comes back. But there's a guy that there's two guys I'm looking at here at wide receiver, for me at least, and I don't know your feelings, Anthony, but for me, it's Christian Watson and it's JSN. I think Christian Watson, if he's healthy, he has elite upside. He has a I think he has top 10, top 12 wide receiver finish in the range of outcomes if he has a full healthy year. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed there, but he is just such a talented player. And I like JSN. I know you like him too, Anthony. And I think they're going to push the ball down the field there. But those are the two guys I would be looking at. I don't know what your thoughts are, but that's those are the two would be between me. Or if we go running back, it'd be Brian Robinson, but we may be able to wait on him.
I would go receiver here because there are three very good receivers. I'm a Hollywood Brown guy, but he is dealing with the injury. I also love JSN, and I especially love Christian Watson. Again, people worried about the hamstring injury that seems to be recurring. He has tried to address it this offseason. They believe they found the onus, like why it keeps happening, through medical studies. I forget the university, but if you Google it, really interesting content on what Christian Watson is trying to do to avoid these recurring hamstring injuries. So I think we go Christian Watson here because, out of everybody, I think I agree with you. He has the highest ceiling of any wideout left.
Yeah, and the three wide receivers, I mean, AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison, they have high ceilings, but they also have really high floors. We don't need a floor pick. Like we those guys have high enough floors. I go Christian Watson with the
Yeah.
potential that he's a high end wide receiver too, and I'm happy with that.
Now we are back on the clock, and we can get Brian Robinson right now.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, I don't think we risk it anymore. I think now we get Brian Robinson. So league format, one quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, one flex. Getting Robinson as our RB3 here, it gives us a player we can throw into our flex. It gives, we can also throw Christian Watson. So I think we have a solid build, and now we have some good bench depth starting to develop here.
And we have a lot of flexibility too. Ton of flexibility.
Oh yeah.
I think, and I was just going to say, and I think in terms of Brian Robinson in general, just a quick hitter here, this is a guy who had over 200 carries last year, getting a guy that we know, this team really likes. People are worried about Austin Eckler, but I mean, Antonio Gibson was there last year too. Brian Robinson wasn't getting the full workload, and he still got 200 plus touches and had 3 RB1 finishes last year, like the RB1, I believe, or 2. But he had some really big weeks, and I'm not worried about Eckler. To get a guy with the possibility to get 200 plus touches this late is good value, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm also obviously not worried about Austin Eckler cutting into the workload of Brian Robinson, who's a very underrated pass catcher. We're back on the clock. Where do we go here? 3 running backs. I believe we now have 4 wide receivers. If we look at the receivers on the board, decent value. Jameson's a ceiling pick. I think Courtland Sutton's the type of player right now from the Denver Broncos. I don't love his ceiling, but he brings that very high floor. He might be the best receiver in Denver right now. What do you think? Who do you like here? Shakir as a player I like out of Buffalo a lot.
I prefer Shakir. I know we have Mark Andrews. I'm just curious to see who's left at tight end. I know a lot of guys went, and we have our tight end. Yeah, not. Yeah, we can wait on tight end if we were going to take a backup. I usually don't take a backup tight end if I have an elite guy like Andrews, but if there's nothing great on the board and there's a nice value there, I don't mind doubling up on a tight end if I don't love the rest of the board, which is why these drafts are fluid. I like Khalil Shakir. I'm a Broncos fan, and to be honest with you, I'm still not that high on Sutton. I still feel like go upside. I think Shakir provides that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Shakir could be the number 1 wide receiver with Buffalo.
I believe he has the highest yardage total of all receivers in Buffalo currently from Vegas. So Vegas doesn't like losing money.
Nope.
So I like using them every once in a while when I'm tasked with a tough decision.
Yeah, people should be using, Vegas lines, player prop lines, game totals, team totals in your fantasy football analysis and your weekly decision making. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are back on the clock. I do think we need to grab another running back as we only have 3 and we are in round 11. Charbonnet, Hubbard, Dobbins, all on the board. The one that jumps out to me is Chuba Hubbard. Now, Chuba Hubbard seems to be okay after that preseason scare. We know Brooks is going to be out at least until week 3 or week 4. Carolina, they upgraded the interior of their offensive line. And quite frankly, I don't know of how much they trust just unleashing their young quarterback, Bryce Young, after a horrendous season last year. So this could be a very run heavy team. We know Canales comes from Tampa. How busy Rashad White was. I'm not, I get that they have Brooks, but Brooks is missing quality practice time, quality reps. Just because he comes back week 3 or week 4 doesn't mean they're going to unleash him there. He's a rookie. They're going to probably take it slow. So Chuba Hubbard might have more value than people think.
Yeah, I mean, and for what it's worth, I just don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna want to ease him in. And that Canales likes throwing to the running back position, and Hubbard is a really solid receiving back. I would have went Jerome Ford here had he not gotten picked a few picks prior. But I think Hubbard's a solid dart throw here.
I hit the wrong button. Let's get Chuba up.
Hubbard and Ford are very similar in that, both guys in front of them with Chubb and Brooks could miss, 4 to 6 weeks to start the year. And both of them should still have standalone value when both of them come back. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Chuba is one of my favorite running backs after round 10. I find myself, I'm not even that big of a Chuba guy, but the Panthers, I like what they bring with Canales, bringing him in, how he uses the running backs. And again, they showed us we want to run the football better by bringing in 2 new guards. We are back on the clock. Our team, a couple more rounds. I like the balance on the team at this point. We have the elite tight end. We have the elite quarterback. I don't know if there's a point carrying backups. That's not something I don't think either one of us do. When we draft running back or tight end that high, do we go running back or receiver here?
I'm just going at this point for the highest upside. I don't at this point, all the running backs are dart throws. I actually happen to like Jalen Wright. I think if there's a chance that Mostert, and now Wright is dealing with an injury right now, but if there is a chance that Mostert or A-Chain, who have been susceptible to injury, go down, this is a running back who's now plugged into one of the best offenses Mostert scored 21 touchdowns as the running back there last year, not even including A-Chain. So I swing upside at these picks because at this point in the draft, a lot of these guys are droppable in season for other waiver ads. And so I'm swinging for upside at this point in the draft still. So I lean Jalen Wright. I don't know about yourself. If it wasn't Jalen Wright, I'm probably going Rico Dowdle.
So you want to go running back, but we could go receiver. Guys like Jerry Judy, Palmer, and Josh Downs on the board. I like Josh Downs a lot. He's, I get another injured guy, but he is the slot receiver on that team.
Yeah, I like Josh Downs too. I didn't see the board on the wide receiver side. I go Josh Downs here for the upside. I think Josh Palmer's a safe floor play, but 98 targets as a rookie. I know he's got the high ankle sprain, but he's got a whole month to get healthy. So I'm confident he'll be okay.
Yeah, you get like AD Mitchell. He's not a natural slot receiver. He is currently playing that role, but when Josh Downs comes back, he's fully expected to reassume his position in that offense. 2 more picks to go. Now we are on the clock. Here I would go running back, and there's 2 guys that stick out. I like Jaleel McLaughlin from your Broncos, and Ray Davis is one of my most rostered players. I do think Ray Davis is going to have a role in Buffalo. James Cook has those ball security issues. They seem to be creeping back up this offseason again. Which running back do you prefer here, Pete? McLaughlin, who we already know what his role is going to be, but I think it's going to be a valuable one in that offense, or Ray Davis, a little bit more of a question mark. But this is an offense that should be on the goal line a lot.
I go Ray Davis here. I had a chance to get Jaleel McLaughlin in my home league, and we have 8 bench spots, which is a lot. And I still didn't take McLaughlin, and I could have taken him with my last pick. It's just off the sheer fact alone that, look, Ray Davis is a big body. He can pass block, and I've said it all along, but I don't trust Jaleel. I think his ceiling is capped in it because I just don't think he could possibly be on the field as much as people think. Ray Davis, if James Cook went down, I think he could carry a 3-down workload if he had to.
Our final pick, um, so Isaiah Likely's on the board, and is Mark Andrews valuable enough to us to want to handcuff him with Isaiah Likely
Well, who else do we have available?
at tight end or just in general?
Just in general.
Wicks, Pearsall, Mooney at wide receiver, Pop Douglas at wide receiver, Antonio Gibson, McLaughlin, Tyrone Tracy, Bucky Irving.
Yeah, so it's between two guys for me here. It's Dontavian Wicks or it's Isaiah Likely. Again, upside. Dontavian Wicks ceiling is so high for this guy, but we do have Christian Watson already.
Yeah.
If you want to hedge and say, hey, Christian Watson with the injuries, it's a good hedge to have the backup there, maybe. But I probably would lean Likely, which ironically is funny because we'd also be handcuffing Andrews.
Yeah.
But Likely, I don't generally go with tight end handcuffs. I think I lean Wick still here. Just give him, it's the last round, and I don't even know if Likely would be drafted. He probably just falls to waivers at this point. I think I would lean Wicks, and then put a waiver in for Likely if Andrews goes down. Just because Wicks could have standalone value even if Watson doesn't go down.
Yeah, the allure with Likely is that there are reports saying that Likely could be like the Joker role, could be the number 2 receiver. They're going to line him up everywhere. Plus, he would have that handcuff. And it's weird handcuffing a tight end, but there are certain ones in recent years, guys like Likely and even like a Darren Waller, even though his handcuff was kind of worthless with the Giants, that these oft injured players you're taking high, it might be good to take their backup, especially Likely, who could have a standalone role. But we know Wicks will have a standalone role. And Watson, again, he does have his injury concerns, even more so than Mark Andrews. So let's go with Wicks here to complete our team. We will pull down the board and go through our team one more time before wrapping up. So we start out with Garrett Wilson, round 2 Harrison. Then we go Mark Andrews, Cooper Kupp as our wide receiver 3, Aaron Jones, our first running back in this 0 running back draft strategy, Kyler Murray for the stack with Marvin Harrison Jr., Zamir White, not a bad running back 2 to have. Both Jones and Andrews expected to have volume. Christian Watson, Brian Robinson, our third running back. And Brian Robinson's another one. Neither one of us are really worried about Austin Eckler. And he's a very underrated running back and an underrated pass catcher. We go Shakir, Chuba Hubbard, Josh Downs, Ray Davis, Wicks. Pete, what do you think of the team?
I like it. A lot of upside. I think as the year and the season has moved on, we have kind of been in lockstep with a lot of our plays. I think if you're going 0 RB, this route, if this was my team, I'd be pretty happy about it. Brian Robinson is a starting running back. We talk about workload, and he's a guy that has 3 down back ability and could be that guy for them. Austin Eckler has been hurt in the past, so I like that as a third running back. We pick up Ray Davis as insurance, possibly, who I think will have a role even if James Cook doesn't get hurt. So yeah, I really like the build. And outside of our top 3 guys, we're gushing with upside with all our other wide receivers. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You can't play safe once you start getting past to your bench spots. It's all upside, because the best thing about that is if that upside falls on its face, you got to not be married to some of these guys, and you could add drop the best guys on the waiver wire. So I like it. Draft 0 RB this year. It seems like the best strategy, and it's the one that I'm following the most this season.
Yeah, it's one of the few years, as I'm old school, I like building my running backs early. This is one of the few years I'm very comfortable punting running back and going 0 running back. And then at the end of the draft, really liking my team. I don't say that a lot, but 2024 seems to be that golden year where, very, very good running backs for fantasy are dropping. But we're going to wrap up. Remember, if this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. hit the alert icon so you can be notified anytime we drop content like this or we go live, because when we go live, we answer your questions. Also, like, comment, everything in between. All of that helps us reach more of you. Until next time, we will see you later.